Merry Christmas, everybody. I have got a story for Christmas for you, so I hope you enjoy. Tom woke on Christmas morning with the sun coming in through the window pane. Tom was only 5 years old and he was excited about Christmas, but he knew he wouldn't get any presents. You see, Tom was the youngest of 7 children, and they lived in a small fishing village in the northeast of Scotland, and, well, Tom had never known his dad because his dad had gone out fishing one day and a storm had whipped up and he never came home. So by the time that Tom was born, his mother was having to work all the jobs she could find. She was making fishing nets, she was taking in washing, she was sewing and knitting and crocheting for anybody who would take her on. And with 6 older brothers and sisters, well, there wasn't much food to go around. And there weren't many clothes to go around, so you definitely weren't going to get presents. But you see, the thing is, Tom just wanted one thing for Christmas. He wanted one thing. And he didn't really care what it was. He just wanted something that was new. Something that was just for him. Because he had had all his clothes, his entire life were hand-me-downs, which meant that they were soft and they were comfy and cosy and full of holes and a bit threadbare. But he just wanted something new. But he knew it wouldn't happen. But that was okay. So he woke his brothers and sisters up and they laughed and they giggled and they started to get dressed. And as they got dressed, they noticed at the bottom of the bed, there was a little parcel and it had Tom's name on it. He trembled with excitement. A parcel, an actual present for him. And he began to unwrap it. And he unwrapped the parcel and inside there was a hat. There was a hat. And it wasn't soft and worn in. It was crisp and fresh and new, like nobody else had ever worn it before. Tom couldn't believe his luck. He put the hat on and it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. And he ran and he hugged his mother, who had kept all the scraps of yarn all throughout the year so that she could make something just for him. And they all had some bread and some water for breakfast, and they went outside to play, and Tom went outside with his hat on and he showed everyone in the village his hat. Look at my hat, I've got a brand new hat and it's only ever been worn by me. He was so excited. And 3 old men were sitting outside one of the houses looking out at the waves rolling in, and one of them called him over and they gave him a round shiny penny and said, "Aye lad, that is a good hat. You keep that hat. I think it's bonny on you. You should go and show everybody." And Tom did. He went all round the village and he got to the edge of the village, and there were a group of boys who'd met up to talk about what they'd got for Christmas. And they saw Tom and they pointed and they laughed because they thought his hat looked silly. But they wanted to play a joke on him and they called him over and they said, "Oh, Tom, that's a very fine hat. I think you should walk into town and show the mayor." Really, thought Tom. He thought that was a brilliant idea. I could walk into town and show the mayor. I'm sure he would love to see my hat. And so Tom walked all the way into town. It was over a mile, but he did it. He did it all by himself with his boots sloshing around and his knees cold with the frost and everything. But he didn't care because he had his hat. And as he got to the edge of the town, he passed a girl hurrying toward her mother's house, and she saw him and she smiled and she said, "That's a fine bonny hat." And he said, "Yes, it is. I'm going to show the mayor." And he walked all the way up to the townhouse and he knocked on the door. Housekeeper answered and she looked down at him, this scrawny little boy with holes in his knees and boots that were too big for him. "Yes," she said. "What do you want?" "Hello, my name's Tom," said Tom. "I got a new hat for Christmas and it's the first thing I've ever had that's been new just for me, and I wanted to show the mayor because it's so beautiful." The housekeeper smiled and said, "Well, you'd better come in then. The mayor is just about to sit himself down for a cup of tea and a fine piece. Will you come?" So Tom followed her in, and she took him all the way into the drawing room, and there was the mayor in all his splendour, and there was Christmas cake on the table and plum puddings and all sorts of things, and Tom's eyes grew wide and round, and he told the mayor that this was his Christmas present. His mum had made him a Christmas present out of all the scraps of yarn that she had saved, and it was the first thing he'd ever had that was just for him. And the mayor looked at the hat, and he asked if he could try it on, and he tried it on. And Tom was a little bit nervous because he didn't like passing it over, but the mayor tried it on and agreed it was a very fine hat. And then he gave it back to Tom and said, "Tom, I think you and your family should come and have Christmas dinner here at the townhouse with me." And they did. He sent for Tom's mother and his brothers and sisters, and they had Christmas lunch together. And the mayor ordered one of these fine hats for everybody on the council, and they became quite the fashion. And that following Christmas, the year after, his mother had had so many orders for her fine hats that she was able to buy a new pair of boots and a new pair of trousers and a shirt and a jumper for Tom and his brothers and sisters. And from that day onward, they always kept Christmas and wore the finest of hats. Merry Christmas, everybody.